It's been a while since I did one of these videos. As many of you know, 2014 wasn't a very good year for me. We bought the foreclosure house, and due to an accident my cousin had while doing the roof, he fell off and shattered his ankle. I had to go up on the roof, and that was actually in 2013. I didn't know this at the time, but I tore all the ligaments in my right ankle. I went ahead and did my first strongman show, and that added to the damage that was taken in my ankle. In March, April, I noticed that my right ankle couldn't bend anymore. It was completely fixed. I had Glenn try and move it, Brooke tried to move it, it just wouldn't budge. My push press died, I had no leg drive, I was having a hard time squatting. I bought some high-heeled shoes trying to get around the problem, and I went to a doctor, ended up getting an MRI, and I had developed a bone spur. Found out that pretty much every single ligament in the right ankle was torn, it hadn't reattached correctly, and there was so much inflammation. So they told me, I could take some anti-inflammatories for a while. That would give me a little bit of mobility back, but at some point I'd have to do surgery. Right now, surgery wasn't really a good option, so I ended up taking 3 months off, but during the period where I was trying to deal with the ankle, I had tried to stop squatting and deadlifting even though it wasn't really bothering me, but I tried walking and jogging lightly on the treadmill, and it had caused my femur to externally rotate, which tore my right SI joint. As soon as that happened, any sort of squatting, deadlifting was out. Took 3 or 4 months, in addition to the ankle, trying to heal that. And there was a strongman show that was going to happen, same one that we had done the year before. And this year, everything was lighter. Everything was weighing what we expected it to be our first show. And obviously that was a much heavier show than it had ever been for the amateur class. But I came back to training, was hitting it hard, really thought I had a shot of doing it, ended up re-injuring the SI joint. It hadn't healed yet. So that put me out for another 3 months. Total for 2014, really I maybe got 3 months of good training in before I took all this time off, and then I came back really slow. I tried rebuilding my squat and deadlift, and even my overhead press really light. Squat and deadlift, we started at 225 pounds. That took us all through December, and just last month I actually hit a PR on the squat for 445. So that's rebuilt. I have not pulled 500 on the deadlift again yet. I did pull 475. I'm pretty sure that I'm back near full strength on the deadlift. One of the things I've been really struggling with right now is programming. Building back that strength was great, but because of the cold and not being outside, we have just lost all endurance. One of the nice things about strongman training is you're moving a lot, so you get that cardio endurance built up. You actually are moving weights quite often, so you have a little bit of muscular endurance as well, but we don't have that right now. I can lift a lot of weight one time, but then you ask me to lift it 10 times and I'm breathing so hard it becomes a problem. So I've been looking at different programs, and for the last 3 weeks I've been trying to add volume on the back of the 531. We do a 531 variation for powerlifters, and we haven't really been doing singles on that. We were doing joker sets for a while, but we kind of cut that off. And I tried to lift a heavy single on the bench last week, and it just wasn't happening. We got 295 easy, tried 310, and it just pinned me, which was pretty disappointing. And yeah, I was having a rough day, but it shouldn't feel that heavy. Threw the slingshot on, did some work with that. So I've been looking around. There's a lot of programming, but everything out there is either bodybuilding, where you're trying to get the size and obviously cut and look like you're muscular, and I'm not interested in that. And then there's a whole lot of powerlifting programs, and those are all designed around the idea that you go to meet, you're doing 3 squats, 3 bench, 3 deadlifts. That's it, and you're all only pulling them one time. So you build that maximal strength up because that's how you score it. They add it all together. Strongman's totally different. You have to have that ability in case you go into a meet and they have a maximal load where you're going to go out there and you have to be able to lift at least the minimum, and then every competitor that does that, they add 20 pounds and they pull it again, and they keep going like that until only one person can pull it, and then that person wins the event. So you have to have the maximal strength, but because they're going to keep adding weight, you have to have a little bit of endurance. And then you also have the events where it's as many reps as you can. Now you only have to last 60 seconds, but it's as many reps as you can do in 60 seconds. We've been playing around with that. We just started doing some really light strongman days, really focused on speed, form, and building up some endurance. And log press, as soon as you put 175 on there, reps are 6, maybe 7 in 60 seconds. That's not very good. At 6, that's roughly 1 rep every 10 seconds. That's not going to cut it. So we're looking at ways to increase the muscular endurance as well as the cardio. I've started bike riding again. I got to build up to that. Got to do some adjustments on the bike. I may start doing some walking. Granted, that's not going to help a whole lot with building cardio, but just something to do on my off days, get some blood pumping, do some recovery. But I'm really looking at designing my own program. Now, what I'm thinking for this program is I'm going to incorporate a little bit of powerlifting and then a lot of strongman, using some bodybuilding principles for some mass, and then some heavy training for the singles, build up the maximal strength, but then keep reps in there. So roughly what I'm looking at doing is it's going to be a 4 to 5 week cycle, possibly a 6 week cycle if I build in a deload. I'm still playing around with ideas. And we're going to start with a heavy week. Okay, so this is for myself and Glenn, who we're pretty comfortable with our maxes. You know, our form may not be perfect. You know, everybody has technique advice for everyone, but it's what works for us. I'm pretty comfortable with the form. It's not going to cause injury. It's all legal within powerlifting and strongman. But we're going to pull singles. Now, singles are done at or above 90%. I'm still playing around with what percentages I want to use for the first week, but we're going to start doing 6 sets of singles. Eventually that week we'll work up to 8 sets of singles and possibly 10. We'll see how that works. So that's not a lot of volume, but for reference, 90% of the deadlift, we'd be lifting somewhere between 460, 475, and hitting that for multiple sets, just 1 rep. Now, after that, we'd go into speed work. That's something we're not doing right now at all. And speed work, we're going to keep it at 3 reps. We're going to use 65%. That's always going to be 65%. And you're hitting 3 reps for 8 sets. And the goal there is to generate as much force and speed as you can, trying to build up that explosive power. After that, we're going to do really light 3 sets of 10 bodybuilding type exercise. I'm still playing around. I think we'll probably be around 60%. Again, the idea here is this last set has nothing to do with building strength, a little bit of size, and endurance. Now the next week is going to be triples. So you're still dealing with a lot of weight. We're going to be in the 80 to 87% range. And we're going to start off with 5 sets, work up to 8 sets of triples. So now you're working a mixture. You're still building the maximal strength, but you're getting some reps in there. So when they come up to you and you say, we're doing a car deadlift today, and you're doing as many reps as you can, and that car is pretty heavy, you're pretty sure you got at least 3. And then at the end of the triples, again, a little bit heavier bodybuilding work. The next week is going to be a completely bodybuilding style endurance workout. You know, we're not going to be doing the time under tension, so it's not quite bodybuilding, but we are going to be doing the high sets and high reps. And this week we'd be using somewhere between 70 and 80% on the weights, doing 3 sets of 10, working up to 5 sets of 10, possibly 15 reps. And that is completely focused on building up endurance, building up muscle size, getting blood in the muscles. the next week, this is one I'm still playing around with. I've heard a lot of people doing really high reps. They're doing 20 rep sets, and as much as I think that's stupid, I'm thinking that that might be pretty good for strongman. So you can't use any sort of serious weight here. You know, that's why they make fun of CrossFit, because they're actually using some decent weight for what they can lift and doing sets of 30 plus. We don't want to do that. So something really light, maybe 50 to 60%, 3 sets of 20. That's completely endurance focused, and possibly a few variations on that day. And then the last day of the cycle, excluding a deload, would be a typical 5x5 program. So you're getting a little bit of strength and you're getting a little bit of endurance. So, you know, the idea here is it's going to hit every single aspect. It's going to increase our endurance. It's going to increase the muscle size. It's going to increase muscle strength. And through the speed, it's going to improve your CNS firing and hopefully improve your max. And like I said, and then you could do a deload week if you need it. I think we're going to play deload weeks by ear. And for the deload week, we might just take a whole week off. Maybe we'll do something light. Haven't decided yet. We also are looking at moving our training. We've been doing Monday, Wednesday, and then Friday or Saturday. And I'm not going to lie, when the cold was out, Friday or Saturday workouts, we missed quite a few of those because we got our deadlifting and our overhead pressing on Wednesday. We got our squats and our benches on Monday, through the back work in there, and then we're just like, it's too cold, it's below 10, or below 0, let's not play around with this. So we've been pretty fat and lazy, and we gotta turn that around. So looking at Monday is going to be a deadlift day. So we're going to start with the deadlift. We're going to do that program. That doesn't seem like a lot, especially the singles day, but warming up, doing the sets, doing the stretching, probably going to take an hour just to get that done. And now, because we're not going to do all the other stuff that we've been doing in the full body, we are probably going to be doing a lot of assistance work for the deadlift. Rack pulls or block pulls, probably some deficit pulls, looking at doing some bands on the deadlift, if we can figure out how to set that up. I don't have a deadlift platform, trying to come up with some different ideas on how to build a band on that. And then we're going to be doing some stiff leg deadlift, some GHRs, hyperextensions. We're probably going to do some shrugs. We haven't tried shrugs in a very long time. That's not something that we've been worried about. And then leg press. And leg press, you'll see a lot of guys going really, really heavy on the leg press. I'm looking at doing it completely endurance focused. So we're probably going to start around 400 pounds, and the goal is to work up to 20 reps. And we're going to do multiple sets of 20 reps. You know, right now probably we'll be hitting 12 to 15 reps on the 3 sets. Want to build up to 5 sets. And the idea here is to get the quads used to working for a long period of time. I know the strongman show that we did, the keg walk or run, I guess, where we were trying to throw it in a wagon. First set went great. The 225, we both did that pretty fast. And then we got to the 250, and my hamstrings were done. Glenn's back was done, and we really struggled with that. Car deadlift, I got 2, Glenn got 0, and just couldn't do anything else. And, you know, part of that was strength, but a lot of that had to do with endurance, and the quads and the hamstrings just getting so filled with lactic acid they were useless. And then Tuesday, we're going to be starting with the strict overhead press, and we're going to be doing clean each rep. That should hopefully increase our clean. I know I'm not very good at cleaning. Glenn's pretty good at it. His form is terrible, but he's pretty strong at it. And then we're going to be doing a lot of assistance work. Right now I'm looking at doing some dips. And I found out you can use a slingshot on dips, which is good news for me. Since I'm so fat, I have a hard time getting more than 3 or 4 dips with my body weight. I put a slingshot the other day, and this is after I did some log Actually, I hit my old max for a log just for a single, but I did 2 sets of a single at 225, and this was after doing a set of 205 for 3 reps, and I got 8 dips with the slingshot. So, you know, it's a little bit of cheating, but it takes a lot of strain off of the shoulder. That's my big problem with the dips, is it puts a lot of strain on my right shoulder. I have that impingement in the right shoulder, and it helps get rid of that. And we're going to be doing some tricep work, probably do some dumbbell benching since we're doing overhead that day, possibly some seated overhead work, reverse band with the log to work on lockout. Again, seated, and lots of back work. We're going to be doing at least 3 exercises with back work, possibly 5 sets, or 5 different exercises. Each one of those will have 3 to 5 sets, and because it's back work, we're going to keep the reps above 10. You know, the goal is to be somewhere between 10 and 15 on those reps, and it needs to be decently heavy too. And then some tricep work in addition to the main exercises, maybe some skull crushers, possibly some cable press downs. And you know, after doing stones, I want to make sure that I'm doing some light bicep curls for very high reps just to work on that tendon strength. You know, I hate doing bicep curls, but one of the real risks of injury in strongman is bicep tears. You know, you're doing a lot of things where you're picking up and holding, and your biceps like to pull. Then Wednesday's going to be day off. I'm going to be doing some biking, possibly some walking. I want to get the sled out. If it's not raining, do some sled drags. That should really hammer the quads and hamstrings good, and it's a good cardio workout. Then Thursday, the plan is to do squats and bench. And the reason we do squats and bench on the same day is I have the ambition to try and do a powerlifting show at some point. And if you're doing a powerlifting show, you're going to start with squats and then you're going to go into bench. So you're never going to bench in a fresh state, and you don't really bench in strongman, so might as well train the squat first and then bench. So we're always used to training bench in a fatigued state. Then we've got the assistance for that day. We're going to do overhead assistance work and a lot of legs. Again, we're going to hit the leg press again. Hold on, sorry about that. Christmas started barking. Whoa. Sorry, kids just came in making a bunch of noise. So we're going to be doing some back work, some overhead work, some really, really high reps on the legs. You know, like I said, hitting that leg press really hard, and a lot of lower back work. Probably do some good mornings and really hit the GHRs hard, add some weight to that, hyperextensions. Just build up the endurance, get some blood in that lower back, get it used to working for a long period of time. And then Saturday is going to be strongman day. And strongman day, the plan right now is we're going to hit some sort of overhead first. So we're going to alternate the log and axle and then do a medley every once in a while. Probably get some keg overhead pressing in there as well. And we're going to work up to a heavy set, and then we're going to do timed reps, just like you would do in a competition, so we're building maximal strength and the time. And then do some sort of walking event. Right now we're going to be alternating farmers and yoke, and then we'll do a farmers yoke medley. And we're going to be working for a month just on adding weight, but keeping the distance to at least 160 feet. And then the next month we're going to be focusing really hard on increasing the weight on that 80 foot. 80 feet is the max we can get on my driveway. The competition, you're typically going to do 100 feet. And if there's a turn, which is how we get 160, it's going to be after 50 feet. So for us, we're going to be training a little bit harder than we would have to in the competition for the turn, and we're going to be training a little bit easier than it would be in the competition for the 100 feet straight shot. And then with, depending on weather, tire flips or front carries with the keg, get that in, and possibly some tire throws, things of that nature. just some sort of event to train more cardio, heavy weight under cardio. And then Atlas stones every single week. But how we do Atlas stones, we're vary, as many reps as you can with one stone over yoke, and then loading to a platform. And then I only have 3 stones, so we can do a 3-stone load as fast as you can. And since the competition we did, you had to actually walk with that Atlas stone. We'll probably get some of those in there. And to finish it up, we'll do some sort of purely cardio focus. It'll either be a sled drag or sledgehammer hitting the tire, which that's never going to be an event, but just doing something like that. And again, because I'm really worried about fatiguing the legs, we'll probably do some GHRs for the hamstrings, high rep, and then some leg press. The nice thing about the leg press is you don't need your hands, you don't need your back, you just push with your quads, and then same thing with the GHR. You don't need to hold on anything, you're just pulling yourself up. So that's what the workout is going to look like, and we're going to keep modifying this. But I really want to make sure that we're used to pulling singles. I know every time the weight gets heavy, it's been a shock. It's like, whoa, what's going on? And that's because we were doing reps. That's one of the downfalls, I think, of doing a 5x5 or even a 3x5 program, is you're working every week increasing the weight, but you're really working in the 70 to 80% range, and then all of a sudden you go to max, and you start adding weight to the bar, just hitting a single, and you're going, oh man, this is really heavy. Your confidence is shot, especially with benching. You're thinking there's only my hands and my arms in between this bar and my chest. If I can't do this, I might die. That's not a very good feeling when you're holding it up there and your arm's just shaking and you're going, oh man, this is too heavy. Let me put it back. And I know with the squat, 445, when I put it on my back, I was just like, oh man, okay, that's heavy. And once I started going down, it was pretty easy. But then I decided to try a 465, and as soon as I picked it out of the rack, it was going, oh man, am I stupid? What am I doing here? No, let's put it back. And I went ahead and tried, and of course I had to bail on it. But you don't want weights to feel that way. You should never go to pick up something and say, oh man, that is heavy. No, put it down. So the goal is by the end of June, we're going to want to be having the yoke and the farmers back close to what we were training with before the injury. Right after I hurt my ankle, Glenn was doing some dork fighting, and he rolled his ankle really bad. It was swollen up, and he ended up having to take the same amount of time I did off and rebuilding. So one of the big struggles right now is getting that moving ability back. My ankle still has maybe 75% range of motion. When I was hurt, it was closer to 50. So I gained some of it back, but I still have no leg drive on a push press. Even getting in the clean, even with the raised heel, I'm having a hard time getting into position to start the pull. So I have to basically build just brute strength on the log press and the axle press, because you're supposed to use leg drive, and I can do leg drive and get the bar to about here. And my triceps don't kick in until it's above my head, so I have to muscle it up with my shoulders to that stage, and it's pretty hard. And I know before I injured my ankle, I could get a capacity limit on my phone. But before I got hurt, I could do 215 just with a leg drive. No tricep involved at all. Just push it up there. And now, getting 215 is all tricep. I mean, the triple I did with 205, every single one of those was all, it might as well have been a strict press. There was very little leg drive in that. Just enough to get it to my nose and then trying to lock it out from there. So really need to work on that. Atlas stones felt good. Need to build up some forearm resistance again in the skin. Got nasty bruises all over. So that's the plan. This is going to be a very interesting workout routine that we're trying. And I'm not sure yet if we're going to be doing singles for everything on the same day, if I want to alternate it. So I'm still debating that, still looking at what I want to do for programming. But we are planning on hitting the Strongman show in Frankenmuth. I think it's going to be August or September. It's going to be the same day as the triathlon. And we're going to do amateur again. Really doesn't want me to finish this video. We are going to be working on going into powerlifting competition. I want to hit that in the winter if there is one, if not early spring, and the next year hit another strongman show. Might consider doing a powerlifting show this summer depending on where we're at, and if I feel comfortable getting into a singlet. Then of course goals for the year, I'm setting an ambitious goal. I want to be squatting over 500. I want to be deadlifting over 580 and benching somewhere in the 330 to 350 range, and I want to get my overhead press up to around 225. Those are all pretty ambitious. Farmer's walk, I'm going to be walking with 600 pounds, and yoke, I want to be able to go 80 feet with 700. And that's what I'm looking at for the end of the year. I need to go pick up a couple more tires and trying really hard to get some more people to come out and train with us. It's a lot easier to train when you actually have a crew, a group of people to lift, help you set up weights, help you get motivated, encouraged, and especially if they go compete with you, it's just that much better. You can cheer them on, they can cheer you on. But that's what we're looking for this year, 2015, and hopefully there will be no more injuries this year. I really can't handle any more big setbacks, so we're being really careful, making sure if it's heavy we're putting a belt on. If it's heavy for pressing, we're making sure to use the wrist straps, and if it feels like you may not hit that next rep, even if it's called for in the set, you put it down. Yeah, you may have gotten 3, but you may have gotten hurt going for that third one. So we're just trying to be a little bit smarter and trying to really make sure that we're progressing. We've been trying to ramp this up. Most people who are competing in strongman they've been lifting for 10 years or more. If you count last year where we didn't lift hardly at all, and most of it was rehab, we've been at this for a little bit over 4 years now. And the first year, we were just typical gym workouts, a lot of benching, curling, and all of that. So we've got a good 2 years in, and we are actually at the point now where we can actually handle the amateur competition weights. But one of the things I'm worried about curling is arm size. For the first time in about 3 years, I'm actually able to touch my shoulder here, so that's pretty nice. Just touch that, both arms. And we've been really working hard on mobility, and I'm actually able to touch my toes, which I haven't done that since I was in elementary school. And I can actually do a shoulder dislocation now, making sure I'm hitting the chiropractor once a month. If I need it, I go in for a sports massage, and I attribute a lot of the increased range of motion on my right arm to going to a massage therapist. They did a lot of work on the shoulder and taught me some stretches, and trying to do some prehab, some shoulder rotator cuff work, keeping it light, keeping it safe, but just work on that. That's something we haven't really done a lot of, and been Googling some mobility routines, trying to do that, making sure that in addition to doing the main exercises, we're making sure that the joints have a full range of motion. You can get hurt if you're too tight, you can get hurt if you're too loose, but right now there's no danger of that. I'm pretty inflexible. So that's it, and I'll keep you guys posted.